Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am doing a full face of my Sephora VIB Spring Sale recommendations. I did do a whole video where I talk in depth about these products, but I wanted to show you all about my favorite products and you can see them in action being applied to my face. I just think it's really helpful to have both those videos where I show you the products in action and then I also talk about them in depth. So I will link that other video where I talk about the products down below. And before I get into the video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you like it, and let's just get straight into this look. Starting off with my recommendation for an eyeshadow palette you should pick up during the sale. This is the Tom Ford. This is the Eye Color Quad Crème in the shade Tiger Eye. This is just my favorite of all the three quads that were released. If you want to see my review on each separate quad, I did review all three of them and I created a video using all of them, but this one is just my ultimate favorite. So I'm going to do something a little different with this quad. I use this quad in the typical way that you would, like using this on the lid, this in the crease, this also in the crease, and this as an eyeliner. But I am going to start off with this all over the lid. I'm going to try and create something a bit more smoky. So I am taking this matte shade, and I'm going to be very careful when using this. So I'm going to take a Wayne Goss 18 brush. It's just a dense buffing brush, so you can see that you can use this type of brush in the crease as well because it has a fluffy kind of end to it. So this is normally what I would use to apply color to like the outer V and my crease. I am going to apply this shade onto my lid with this type of brush just because I'm not going to get too much color payoff using a brush like this, and I'm going to pick up the product on the side of the brush. I'm going to make sure to really tap off that excess, get any excess color on the back of my hand. And then from there, I'm going to apply onto the eyelid. So again, I'm working very carefully. I'm going to start at the very base of my eye, right at the lash line, and then I'm going to slowly work upwards and go from there. So I definitely want the most color payoff on the bottom of the lid, and then I am going to take that color into the outer corner first, and then slowly wiggle that up into the crease, just working really carefully and slowly because I don't want to get too much color payoff with this shade. Otherwise, it will be really hard to blend out because this is a matte shade. But these are really creamy colors, so they work on the eyes a little bit more like a cream shadow, so you have a little bit more control with them than you would some other matte eyeshadows. But you still want to be a bit careful because this is a dark shade. This is actually easier to apply than you may think it would be, but I would definitely just work really slowly, work with a little bit of product on your brush at a time, and slowly blend that shade upwards. I am not going to blend that shade really high into the crease though. What I'm going to do from here is I'm going to just take a blank brush. This is a Sonia G Blender Pro, and then I'm going to blend that shade upwards into the crease ever so slightly, but I don't want to take this too high, otherwise I'll just look like I have a bruised eye. And what I'm going to do is take a little bit of this peachy shade. I'm just going to dip into that like once, just because I just want a little bit of that pop of color just right above. And again, I'm just working really slowly, going over those edges ever so softly, just so we have a little better of a transition upwards. And then from here, I'm going to take this lightest shade right here, and I'm going to take that on a Sonia G. This is a Builder 2 brush. It's just a flat shader brush, and I'm going to pick that up and just apply it all over the lid. So using this darker shade as a base is just going to make this shade kind of pop a little bit more, and it's going to give it a bit more intensity underneath. So this look will still remain a little bit more smoky than it normally would. And then I'm going to take that brush again and just run over the edges to make sure that everything is seamless and smooth. So you can see I do have a little bit of fallout, especially here, but that is okay because I am doing my eyes first, so I can clean that up after. I'm just going to take a smudge brush. This is a Wayne Goss 7, and I'm taking that deepest shade again, and I'm going to run this on the top lash line to add a little bit of definition. So I'm essentially using this as my eyeliner, just from the outer corner inwards. Don't have to be too precise with this step. For my lower lash line, I'm going to take whatever is left on this little smudgy brush, and I'm going to run that across the lower lash line, keeping it pretty much on like the outer quarter on my lower lash line, keeping it really close outside of the waterline because I do not want that to be too smoky, like buffed down underneath my lower lash line. And then, of course, I am making sure to connect that to the outer corner here so that everything flows. And then I'm going to mix this bronze shade and this lightest gold shade back and forth together for the lower lash line, just going back between those two. And then I'm going to buff out that lower lash line. And with this shade, I'm going to take it all the way to the inner corner. I have mascara on, and for mascara, I don't actually have a favorite from Sephora, but I do have a favorite lash primer. So I went in with the Dior. This is the Maximizer 3D Triple Volume Plumping Lash Primer. So it just comes in this white tube, and it is like a white lash primer. So it goes onto your eye. Your eyelash is kind of milky looking. You get that white mascara base, so you definitely want to use a black mascara over top. But I really love how this conditions my lashes. It really gives a good base underneath mascara. It provides me with that length and that volume that I really like in my mascara. And I don't wear lashes, false lashes ever, so I really rely on this product to just prep my lashes for mascara on top. This is something I've repurchased multiple times, probably about 6 or 7 times. And then over top of that, I went in with my favorite mascara, the Kier Weiss Impossible Mascara. So just use that. And then for concealer today, I'm going to go in with my favorite concealer that Sephora offers, and that is the Dior Forever Skin Correct Concealer. I haven't used this one in so long because I've been using the Sisley and Clé de Peau one, but I'm just going to take a little bit right under there. I probably applied a little bit too much. And then I always like to apply a little bit in this outer corner here, just to kind of clean up that outer corner where I've applied that eyeshadow first. And I also like to give my eyes kind of that lifted effect. So when I angle my concealer out like this in the outer corner of my eyes, it gives that sort of appearance of your eyes being lifted. So it gives that kind of effect. And then I'm just going to take a damp beauty blender and blend that concealer into the skin. And I do always apply my concealer before foundation. I just like how things blend into the skin better when I apply concealer first. And then I also find that I don't require as much foundation when I apply product this way. And instead of using a typical primer where I apply it all over the face, I'm going to go in with the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter for a Superstar Youth Glow. And this is in the shade number 4 Medium. I prefer to use this as a face primer. So I'm just applying it to the tops of the cheekbones, a little bit on the Cupid's bow, down the nose. And I always like to apply a little bit on my jawline here, just because I like how that looks with a little bit of that highlight effect. And then I just blend that into the skin. Now what this does is this gives a really beautiful glow underneath my foundation. You can use this as a highlighting product on its own, just as a liquid highlighter. But this adds a very sheer amount of coverage. So again, when I go in with this step, I don't require as much foundation because it gives me a very slight amount of coverage in those areas that I applied it. So when I go over top of those areas with my foundation, I don't require to go in with as much product. I basically need nothing over those areas. Just because I don't like a lot of coverage in those areas anyways. And for my foundation, I'm going to go in with my favorite foundation at Sephora, and that is the Dior Airflash Spray Foundation. This is the shade 321. My favorite way to actually use this foundation is mixing it in with something that's a little dewier, just because I really love this foundation, especially as a mixing foundation. It just makes any foundation look more beautiful, and it makes any foundation more long wearing, and it also just gives this really beautiful poreless airbrushed effect on the skin. It truly is an airbrushed foundation, but I'm just going to use it on its own today. So what I like to do with this is I give it a good shake. You definitely need to shake this up because it is in this aerosol spray, and then I just like to spray that onto the palm of my hand. And you do want to apply product to your palm versus the back of your hand because the back of your hand has pores, and it will absorb that product first. And then with just a damp beauty blender, I'm going to apply it all over the skin. And I really love this foundation because the texture of this is so light. It feels like you are wearing nothing on your skin. So you get a beautiful amount of coverage for how thin of a texture this foundation is. And because the texture of this is so thin, you're not going to see makeup on top of your skin. So it doesn't look like you have makeup sitting on top of your skin. It really blends into the skin and gives you just a beautiful amount of coverage without it looking like makeup or without it looking heavy on the skin. And this foundation is superb if you are looking for something very long wearing. And especially when like the things are starting to heat up a bit, it's becoming spring and then we're gonna have summer next. If you're looking for something that is heat and humidity resistant, This is a great foundation to try out if you're going away somewhere where it's really hot and humid. This just wears super well in a hot environment and in warmer weather. So if you're going to like an outside event or something, this would be a perfect foundation because you're gonna have no problem with longevity and it's just going to wear beautifully all throughout the day. So I highly suggest this foundation, especially for the warmer months coming up. It's just such a beautiful one. Now the foundation is on. It looks beautiful. It looks airbrushed. It looks poreless. All my favorite things about foundation. But I would say the trickiest thing about this foundation is that you don't have the typical pump that you're working with. And it is a little different to get used to a foundation that comes out like this. But I would just say the best way to work with this kind of formula is to just work one spray at a time. So just start out with giving it a shake. I'll spray it like that, and then I'll work this amount onto the face, and then you can build up from there. I typically only go in with like a maximum of 2 sprays though, but I would just start small, work your way up. You don't want to be spraying a ton of product because then that is when you can get carried away and things can start looking a little heavy. But that's just something to note with this foundation. And then I'm going to move on to bronzer. So my favorite bronzer at Sephora is a classic. It is the Guerlain Terracotta in the shade Medium Doré. So this is medium warm, number 03. So with this bronzer, there are different color offerings. You can get warmer tones, you can get cooler tones, but I have a warmer undertone, so I like to go for the warmer one. I just love this formula. It is definitely more of a matte finish. There is an ever so soft satin finish running throughout it. Like you can see a little bit of a sheen, but it never looks shimmery on the skin. You cannot detect shimmer particles on the skin because I don't enjoy that. It's just such a seamless formula. It's a very buildable bronzer as well. You can get away with a very small amount, but if you want a bit more intensity, you can build that color up. And it just looks so flattering on the skin every time. This is a bronzer I love to reach for when I just don't know what bronzer to go for because I'm just happy with how my bronzer looks every time I go for this formula. I just like that there is more than like one bronzer offering, even more than 3. I think there are 6 or 7 color choices to choose from when you get this bronzer. So there are many color options if you are deeper in complexion or if you are lighter in complexion. And then while I have this bronzer out, I'm just going to finish the lower lash line. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this on the pencil brush and I'm just going to run that across the lower lash line. This is just how I really enjoy to finish off a makeup look. It's just to add a little bit of whatever bronzer I'm using to the lower lash line. And sometimes I'll even add it to the crease as well, the upper crease, just to get everything beautifully blended together. And then I can kind of tie the face into the eyes so that everything kind of flows a little better. And then I'm going to move on to highlighter. So the highlight I'm going to use is from the Charlotte Tilbury Nudegasm palette. I'm going to take this lightest shade here. And first I'm going to just finish off the eyes and I'm going to apply this to the inner corner. And this is a MAC 228 brush. So with this, I don't like to apply it right to the tear duct, to like the very inside corner. I like to apply it kind of to this inner crease, if you can see, and I'm going right inside the inner crease there just to add that brightened effect right to that area. But I don't like to go on the tear duct because I think it looks kind of weird on my eyes for some reason. And then sometimes I will take that same shade and just bring it down the center of the eyelid to add a bit of that brightness there as well. This is just if I'm being a little more precise, I'll do this effect here. So I might as well do it on camera today. And then I am going to take a Sonia G, this is a mini cheek brush, and I am applying that highlighter to the tops of the cheekbones. So this is a Baked Gelée formula. So this is a beautiful highlighter when you don't want highlighter to sit on top of your skin. This is going to melt right into the skin, make it look as if you've applied a liquid highlighter because it is very seamless. You cannot detect that you've applied a highlighting product, but it gives your skin that beautiful glow. This is not an over-the-top highlighter. If you are looking for an intense, pigmented, glowing from space highlighter, this is not for you. This is more of a lit from within, really subtle glow that is just so beautiful. In any type of lighting situation that you're in, it just makes your cheeks glow and make you look like you're healthy versus you actually seeing that highlighter sitting on your skin. And for my cheeks, I'm going to go in with the Laura Mercier Blush Color Infusion. This is in the shade Ginger. This is just the most perfect neutral tone. This is my cheeks but better. This will just make your cheeks look enhanced and beautiful, but it is not over the top at all. No shimmer to this at all, so you're not going to get any emphasizing of texture or anything. And I really thought this would pair well with this look because the eyes are a little bit more smoky, so I just want the cheeks to be really neutral, but I still want to look like I have a little bit of color on my cheeks because I still want to look healthy and youthful. So I think just applying a little bit of a blush is important, but I still want everything to be more neutral, which is why I chose this color and formula, because it just looks really lovely on the cheeks, really enhances your complexion. And I'm not going to go in and powder the skin. If you notice, I actually do not powder my skin after foundation. I like to powder my skin at the very end of my makeup application just because then I can be really precise where I want to apply powder. I do not feel that I need powder all over. I just need it in little specific locations. So I will do that at the very, very end. We'll go in with a finishing powder sometimes. My favorite finishing powder at Sephora, I actually really love the Guerlain Meteorite, so I highly suggest those as well. But in my recommendation video, I did talk about the Gucci. This is the Matte Natural Powder. And I just go in with a buffing brush. This is the Sony G Face 1. I do think it has a different name now, so I'll let you know down below. But I take a little bit of that powder. I get that excess product off the brush, and then I like to blend this into the skin. So I prefer this Gucci powder as a finishing powder versus a setting powder because I like how this powder looks when you buff it into the skin. This does have a bit of a sheen to it, so I think it just looks its best, and this powder performs its best when it is buffed into the skin. If you apply it without buffing it into the skin, you can detect little particles of shimmer. That's just what I've noticed, but if you buff it into the skin like this, the shimmer just kind of gets dispersed into your skin and you just get this beautiful glow to your skin. So it looks more natural when you buff it into the skin versus applying this as a full-on setting powder. That is just what I have found personally. But I do love a finishing powder, especially if I am going out for maybe a special occasion or I'm going out throughout the day. I think just buffing in your makeup makes everything look a little bit more seamless, so you don't have product sitting on top of your skin. And sometimes if you don't kind of finish off with buffing products into your skin at the end, you can just see that separation where you've applied bronzer and then you've applied the highlighter and then you've applied your blush. You can kind of see it sitting on your skin, but when you really buff it in, you won't get any of those edges. You'll just get a very seamless application. At this point in my makeup application, this is where I usually go in with a powder. And now you just saw me use that finishing powder, but with a powder that is kind of more blurring, I like to apply that especially to this area right here, maybe a little bit to my chin, a little bit on the nose and the center of my forehead. So I'll keep it really targeted, that more airbrush powder. I'll keep it really targeted in the center of my face where I have maybe pores, where maybe I will get a little bit more glowier throughout the day. But because I went in with that Airflash foundation on its own, I don't actually think I require powder. I would suggest at Sephora, my favorite powder is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish. I don't use this one as often because I've just fallen in love with the Clé de Peau powder and also the Chantecaille. But if you're looking for something specifically at Sephora, this would be my best bet, and I would recommend this one, especially if you're looking for something that kind of airbrushes the pores. And then for the lips, I am going to take my #1 lip pencil of all time. I am picking up another one during the Sephora VIB sale because you can see how pathetic mine looks. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Lip Cheat in the shade Pillow Talk. This is just a classic. It's a beautiful My Lips But Better shade. So I just kind of lightly filled in my lips with that lip pencil. And for lipstick, my #1 lip product at the moment, this is the Merit Signature Lip Lightweight Lipstick in the shade Baby. I just love this. It has the most beautiful finish. It has a bit of a glossy finish, not as glossy as something like the Chanel Rouge Cocoa Flash or the Chantecaille Lip Veils. This definitely is more of a satin finish, but it's not as drying as some of the other satin lipsticks on the market, like even the Gucci satin lipstick or the Charlotte Tilbury Kissing lipsticks. This has a bit more hydration, so I just find it's that perfect in-between of like the Chanel Rouge Cocoa glosses and like the Gucci satin lipsticks. This is like the perfect marriage of both of those products. It's beautiful. I really love this, and it is a lightweight lipstick. It feels incredibly lightweight. But that is just, I'm sorry, that is the most beautiful tone. It perfectly matches that Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Lip Cheat. It's just a little bit lighter than that. And then as always, I kind of like to just make sure everything is blended into the lips. I prefer my lips to look a little bit more lived in versus having like that really structured lip line. And then to top that all off, I'm going in with the Tom Ford. This is the Brilliant Lip Gloss Luxe. I think that's what it's called. Yes, Brilliant Lip Gloss in the shade #21 in the buff. So this is essentially a nude lip gloss. that has a bit of a sheen to it. So you don't get a lot of color payoff with this, but this formula, I tell you, it is fabulous. It feels incredibly smoothing on the lips. It is so comfortable. The texture of this is just, oh, it is luxurious. It's the most luxurious lip gloss, sorry. It just feels plushious. It feels amazing. Your lips feel luscious and slightly plump, and just, it's so comfortable for a lip gloss. The texture is extremely thin, so you never get that gloopy effect. You never feel like your lip gloss is sitting too thick on the lips. It is just fabulous. But this is the final look, and this is my finished full face of Sephora VIB recommendations coming up for the spring sale. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see me talk about these products more in depth, I will link down below where I just talk about these products and I'm not applying them on my face, so you can just hear a little bit more of an explanation about why I really love and recommend these products. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know down below your favorite products from Sephora. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you like it, and I will see you in my next video.